So over the last few years, the JBL PartyBox 310 has been my favorite box speaker to use and to recommend. It sounds great and it has a ton of bass, it's easy to transport thanks to its built-in wheels, and it has a decent looking light feature. But now we have the JBL PartyBox Stage 320, which has some major upgrades over the 310, and the design of this speaker has just been so refined. So today we're going to check out the JBL PartyBox 320. We're going to see if it's worth upgrading from the 310, and yes, you can believe the hype. We're going on pricing. The JBL PartyBox 320 has a retail price of $600, which is a $50 price increase from the PartyBox 310. But personally, I do expect to see the PartyBox 320 to go on sale in Q4 2024 and beyond. Nonetheless, if you're going to pick this speaker up, it'll be linked down below, or you can always press on the YouTube shopping button. And if you want to further support the channel, pick up a Big Head approved hat, link down below. We've got trucker hats and snapbacks. By buying a hat, you help the unbiased and unsponsored videos coming, and it also helps us cover more products and produce more versus videos. Thank you to everyone who's already bought a hat, and look out for more designs coming soon. And also, please remember to hit that like button, and let's get subscribed. So first, let's talk about the design of the speaker, because there have been some major changes. Most of them good, but I still have some critiques. Now, the 320 is a little shorter and a little wider than the 310. The 320 is also a little lighter than the 310, weighing in at 36.4 pounds, whereas the 310 weighs in at 38.4 pounds, a 2-pound difference. Now, in general, yes, both the 320 and 310 are large box speakers, but transporting these speakers around is relatively convenient thanks to their built-in telescopic handles and built-in wheels. But the wheels and the handle on the 320 have been upgraded from the 310. First off, the wheels on the 320 are larger and wider than the wheels on the 310. So these wheels are able to handle rough asphalt much better than the skinny wheels found on the 310. But also, the telescopic handle on the 320 can now be set to different heights if you want. But personally, I do prefer the spring-loaded telescopic handle found on the 310 because I just feel that it's smoother and easier to use. But overall, I will say that the 320 has improved portability over the 310 thanks to the larger wheels. However, when it comes to durability, the 320 still has a mostly plastic body just like the 310, so it can collect scratches very easily, and it has a thin middle grille on the front that can get dented very easily as well. But the 320 is still rocking an IPX4 rating, meaning that a little bit of water isn't going to hurt the speaker. Now, the control panel on the 320 has also been upgraded to resemble JBL's newer speakers. We have a big dial for your volume, a big dial for your lights, dials for your mic, and you have your DJ buttons as well. But a sneaky upgrade that I like on the 320 is that its port panel on the back now has a built-in LED, which makes plugging your microphone or audio cables a little easier, especially at night. And just like before, the 320 still has your top hat mount on the bottom, just in case you want to put this speaker on a speaker stand. But obviously, the most noticeable design upgrade on the 320 over the 310 is going to be the light feature. The 320 now has your large conjoined light rings on the front, just like with JBL's newer speakers. It also has a built-in stars, and there are light rails on the top and bottom, making this light feature a lot more expanded than the light feature found on the 310. And from JBL's PartyBox app, you can easily choose from different lighting modes. You can also select which light features you want to turn on and off, and you can even customize this light feature to your liking. Overall, the 320 has a very dynamic looking light feature, which is just going to complement whatever you're listening to, or it's just going to look great in your man cave. But just keep in mind, if you do decide to use this light feature, that is going to take its toll on the battery life. Now, when it comes to battery life, the PartyBox 320 has an advertised battery life of 18 hours, just like the 310. However, this advertised battery life of 18 hours is with this speaker playing at 50% volume, which is already a decent listening volume, but that's with the light feature turned off and with the bass boost feature turned off as well. But real-world use with the 320 playing at 70% volume, which I feel is a really good listening volume when you're with friends. With the light feature turned on and with the bass boost feature set to deep, I found that the 320 is good for about 7 hours of playback time, which is good. But I have noticed noticed that the 320 runs out of battery a little faster than the 310, because under the same conditions, the 310 is good for about 7 to 8 hours of playback time. And that's because the battery on the 310 is a 72 watt hour battery, whereas the battery on the 320 is a 68 watt hour battery. However, one of the main upgrades on the 320 over the 310 is that it now has a swappable battery. And this swappable battery is great for two reasons. The first reason is if you get multiple batteries, then you can just easily swap them out and keep the party going. Or, since batteries do degrade over time due to multiple charging cycles, if you get to a point where your battery can no longer hold a charge, you can just get a new battery instead of having to replace the whole speaker. But for those curious, yes, you can use this speaker while it's plugged in and with the battery removed, but you can't hot swap these batteries. As soon as you pull the battery out of the speaker is just going to turn off. And also, the battery that comes with the 320 is larger than the battery that comes with the 120. So yes, the 320 has slightly less stamina than the 310. But personally, I don't mind because it still has a really good real-world battery life, but more importantly, being able to get multiple batteries and swap them out as they run out is a huge game changer and a very important upgrade in my opinion. And JBL is claiming that a 10-minute charge from a dead battery will get you 2 hours of playback time. But with power out of the way, let's talk about ports and connectivity. Regarding Bluetooth connectivity, the 320 is now using Bluetooth 5.4, but more importantly, this speaker can be connected to two devices at the same time, so you and a friend can both be DJ, and latency is not an issue for this speaker, so you can use it to watch videos with on your phone. And the 320 has finally been upgraded to AAC from just having SBC on the 310. Now, when it comes to ports, things here are very similar to the 310, which is okay, but I still wish that there was more. First off, the 320 still has a USB-A out port, so that you can either plug in and charge your own devices, or you can plug in a USB stick and play music off of it. Now, I think it's great and all that the 320 has a USB-A port, but I still wish that this speaker had a USB-C port, so that you can charge your own devices and use it as a wired connection, because most phones these days just come included with USB-C to USB-C charging cables. However, the 320 still has your 3.5mm audio jack, so you can still use this speaker with a wired connection. And it also still has an audio out jack, so you can always daisy chain any other speaker to this speaker, regardless of size or brand, and get them to play in sync. The only major port that's missing on the 320 from the 310 and the 300 is the 12-volt port, which I feel is unfortunate because this port would allow you to power your 310 through your car's cigarette lighter, which is great for camping. But it looks like JBL has given up on this feature because they no longer even sell their 12-volt cable. Plus, a lot of EVs now just have your normal power outlets on them, so you're probably not gonna need it. But just like before, the 320 still has a dual 1/4-inch input, so they can either plug in two microphones for karaoke, or you can plug in a guitar. And from the control panel up top, you can actually go ahead and you can adjust the volume of your microphone. You can also go ahead and add bass, but actually that's too much bass. Let's go ahead and lower this. You can also adjust your treble. Again, that's a lot of treble here. We can lower that. Or if you want, you can go ahead and add an echo. Personally, I don't use an echo on my microphone. But the important thing here is that these microphone adjustments will only affect your microphone and not your music. Also, below the knobs for your microphone adjustments, there are some party buttons up here, and from JBL's app, you can choose what these buttons say. So, for example, here's one.
Let's party!
Here's another one. And here's another one. So again, through JBL's app, you can actually go in and adjust what these buttons say and do. The only thing that I wish that you could do is actually record your own voice lines, but right now you can't do that. So who knows if that's a feature that JBL will add through a future software update. But overall, the PartyBox 320 is a great option for karaoke because you can use two microphones with it, and the party buttons up top can be a lot of fun. And from a technical standpoint, I really like this speaker because it does a really good job of rejecting any feedback. Because right now, we're actually going to get this microphone and we're going to put it right in front of the speaker, and it takes a lot for it to actually get any feedback. So that's a really good thing, especially if you do plan on doing a lot of karaoke. Now, even though I think it's great and all that the 320 has your dual quarter-inch inputs, I still wish that maybe the speaker should have had 4 quarter-inch inputs so you could get more people to do karaoke with you. Or I also still wish that the speaker had XLR inputs so they could use it with a mixer, because this speaker is just too big and just a lot of fun to not be able to use it with a mixer. But with ports out of the way, let's talk about sound. Regarding speaker setup, the 320 is the same as the 310. The PartyBox 320 has dual front-firing woofers with an exhaust port that shoots out the back and dual front-firing tweeters up top. Now, just like with the 310, if you go into JBL's PartyBox app, you can customize the EQ on the speaker to your liking, and there's a separate bass boost setting as well. Now, I personally like to use the 320 with its signature JBL EQ, but I do like using it with its bass boost set to deep. And just like with the 310, if you were to use the 320 while it's plugged in, you are going to get a performance boost out of it. It's going to get louder and it's going to have more bass. So we're going to go ahead and jump into the sound test. Both speakers are running at 87% volume, loud enough to need hearing protection while indoors. Both are using their stock EQs, but both are set to bass boost deep. And we're going to be using them while they're both plugged in and unplugged. So when it comes to sound quality, I say the 320 sounds noticeably better than the 310. With the 320, this speaker sounds noticeably more open than the 310. There's more detail in the mids, so vocals are a lot more pronounced, and the highs are a lot cleaner too. With the 310, the highs were crashing a little during the sound test, and the vocals were being overwhelmed by the low end. But in addition to having better instrument separation over the 310, the 320 also has more wall shaking bass than the 310. So overall, the 320 is a better and more dramatic sounding speaker than the 310. But when it comes to max volume performance, I say the 320 and 310 are the same. When these speakers are running off of their built-in batteries, they're going to get decently loud for, let's say, a house party or a cookout of 20 people or so. But with both of these speakers, if you use them while they're plugged in, they're both going to get louder and they're both going to have more bass. And while they're both plugged in, both of these speakers get equally as loud as one another, but the 320 is putting out more bass. So overall, yes, the PartyBox 320 sounds better than the 310 because it has better instrument separation and more bass. But I don't think that it would be the sole reason to upgrade. But now let's talk about pairing these speakers up with other speakers. Now with the PartyBox 310, if you have another PartyBox 310, then you can wirelessly pair them up and get them to play in left and right stereo mode. Or you can always wirelessly pair your 310 up to one other PartyBox Encore, a 110, a 310, or to a 710 and get them to play in sync. But you can only have a total of 2 speakers wirelessly paired to one another. Whereas the 320 is using Auracast, and again, if you have another 320, then you can wirelessly pair them up and get them to play in left or right stereo mode, or you can pair it up to another Auracast speaker like the PartyBox 120 and get them to play in sync. But unfortunately, you cannot wirelessly connect a 320 to JBL's older PartyBox speakers like either a 310 or a 110, Encore, or a 710, and you also can't wirelessly connect your PartyBox 320 to any of JBL's smaller Party Boost speakers. Now, I do feel that not being able to connect your 320 to your 310 wirelessly really sucks. But like I mentioned earlier, the 320 still has an audio out jack. So if you have a spare audio cable lying around, you can still daisy chain any other speaker to this speaker, regardless of size or brand, and get them to play in sync. But with all that being said, the JBL PartyBox 320 has been upgraded and refined from the 310, and it's one of the best large portable box speakers that you can get right now. From a build quality standpoint, the speaker just feels more premium and refined from the 310. I really like the larger wheels, and I really like that the port panel on the back now has an LED. The only thing that I don't like about the 320 design-wise is the handle. It's not as slick as the 310s, but the 320 now has a much larger light feature than the 310. Now, obviously, you shouldn't pick up a speaker because of its light feature, but you gotta admit, this one looks a lot better than the 310. But the most important upgrades here is the improved sound quality. The 320 has better instrument separation, better clarity in the highs, and it has more bass than the 310. And there's the swappable battery. Swappable batteries will allow you to keep the party going if you have multiple batteries, or you can always replace the battery on the 320 instead of having to buy a whole new speaker. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit the like button and get subscribed. If you want to pick any of the products up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And you know I can be very particular, so I'll only slap my name on something if I'm really proud of it.